Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into an absolutely wild story about a massive, fake government agency that somehow managed to bypass official safeguards and operate completely in plain sight. I mean, it's a staggering tale of audacity, massive institutional blind spots, and just an unbelievable administrative failure that has totally gripped the Nigerian public. We're going to stick strictly to the facts and the reports surrounding this controversy to figure out exactly how a phantom organization just materialized out of thin air.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty mechanics of how they pulled this off, we really have to ask one massive question. How on earth could a fake agency of this scale operate right out in the open? We're not talking about some small-time scam run out of a basement. We're talking about an alleged shadow bureaucracy that engaged with actual state systems. To understand this, we really need to peel back the layers and look at how government structures can be totally manipulated when verification processes just fail.
To make sense of all this chaos, we'll break this down into 5 parts. First, the phantom federal agency itself. Then, a look inside the massive operation. Third, the system failures and alleged enablers. Fourth, the missed warnings and red flags. And finally, the public outrage and next steps.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, a phantom federal agency.
So here is exactly what we're dealing with. The organization called itself the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, or the PFIPC. It was allegedly run by a self-styled individual who went by Prince Aiden, but here is the jaw-dropping part. Legally speaking, this agency just does not exist. There's no legal instrument, no parliamentary act, not even an executive order that created it. And yet, despite having absolutely zero foundation in law, this phantom council somehow hacked its way into the official system and just started operating.
And when I say they operated, I mean they operated on a massive financial scale. 34. That is how many different bank accounts reports indicate this fake agency had. 34. And most alarmingly, this supposedly included an account opened directly with the Central Bank of Nigeria. How an individual manages to get an account with the central bank without the Accountant General of the Federation raising a massive waving red flag is, honestly, one of the biggest questions investigators are trying to answer right now.
Moving right along to Section 2. Inside the massive operation.
You see, this fake agency didn't just have a handful of people in it. It reportedly had an elaborate roster of over 300 staff members. And they forged a highly specific, totally believable hierarchy. We're talking 10 directors at grade level 17, 20 assistant directors at grade level 15, all the way down to planning officers, accountants, and legal officers. By giving people these highly specific, standard civil service titles, the orchestrators gave the whole operation the perfect illusion of bureaucratic legitimacy. It looked like the real deal.
And this next part just brilliantly illustrates how they circumvented the system. They didn't just invent jobs out of thin air. They rigidly, meticulously mimicked actual government compliance directives in their forged paperwork. Their internal letters literally directed the agency to obtain budget office clearance, comply with federal character principles, including that highly specific rule reserving 5% of jobs for persons with disabilities, and they even wrote that the head of civil service should monitor the exercise. By dressing up their fraud in the exact language of real government bureaucracy, they completely bypassed casual scrutiny. It's wild.
Which brings us to Section 3, System Failures and Alleged Enablers.
So who authorized all this? The suspect, Prince Aiden, has claimed his appointment was issued directly by the Chief of Staff to the President. Now, the Chief of Staff has strongly, categorically denied any involvement whatsoever, and when you look at actual government protocols, you can see why this claim falls apart. Legally, the Chief of Staff doesn't even issue appointment letters. Even for direct presidential appointments, those letters are officially issued by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, or the SGF. But you know, the illusion wasn't just on paper. The fake agency reportedly secured actual physical office space directly inside the federal secretariat in Abuja. Think about that for a second. This is an incredibly secure national building. It is deeply, deeply concerning that someone allegedly within the SGF's office approved actual physical space for this phantom agency. It means the perpetrators didn't just exist in cyberspace or on fake letterheads. They literally walked the halls of actual government buildings alongside real officials.
So the whole thing really comes down to this major unanswered question. How did a director in the SGF's office allegedly convey a recruitment waiver for 300 people when there was a strict nationwide federal employment embargo currently in place? This heavily points to the possibility of willing collaborators. insiders within the highest levels of the civil service who actively helped bypass this hiring freeze to enable this fake agency to staff up.
Okay, on to Section 4, Missed Warnings and Red Flags. What makes this explainer even more astonishing is that long before the agency was finally exposed, multiple massive red flags were just completely ignored by authorities. I mean, over the past few years, the suspect really elevated his profile by posing for photos with former President Goodluck Jonathan and UAE diplomats. There was even a prior incident where he allegedly scammed a state governor. The anti-corruption agency, the PFIPC, actually helped recover the funds, yet somehow no legal action was pursued. And get this, on October 21st of a previous year, the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council, the NIPC, officially wrote to the government warning about this fake agency interfering in their statutory duties.
Even after the NIPC reported his interference to the police and an arrest was actually made, the suspect was somehow not stopped. In fact, he just continued to operate openly. In a truly shocking display of brazenness, the self-styled prince was even seen taking photographs with the chairman of the PFIPC. The very authorities meant to crack down on this exact kind of graft were seemingly being used as photo ops to further legitimize his fake standing.
Finally, Section 5, Public Outrage and Next Steps.
As all these unbelievable facts have come to light, the Nigerian public is reacting, and understandably so, to this profound institutional failure. Citizens like Musa Abdullahi are highlighting the desperate, immediate need to fix these gaping administrative loopholes. Because it's not just about catching one guy, right? It's about strengthening the core verification processes so that the entire architecture of government cannot be impersonated so easily ever again.
And the concerns go way, way beyond simple fraud. As Nielsen Adjuer rightly points out, if an individual could infiltrate the system to the point of occupying government buildings and securing central bank accounts, this represents a massive national security blind spot. It raises some pretty terrifying questions about what other hostile actors, including terrorist organizations, might be able to achieve if the bureaucratic safeguards are really this weak.
Now, as the suspect has promised to open up in court, many observers, like Tunda Amela, emphasize that everyone accused should definitely be allowed to defend themselves legally. But the huge public demand right now is that the courts be allowed to do their work entirely free from any political interference. Ultimately, forged letters, bank records, and hard physical evidence will speak far louder than any public denials. And following this process through is absolutely necessary to unmask any powerful enablers still hiding within the system.
Ultimately, as noted by a citizen named F, the government faces a really steep uphill battle to regain the confidence of its citizens. Public trust takes years to build, but, as we all know, it can be shattered in an absolute instant by a scandal of this magnitude. To move forward, the government must communicate openly and transparently about exactly how this happened and who helped make it happen. So, we're going to leave you with this final provocative thought to ponder today. If an entire federal agency, complete with hundreds of staff members, physical office space, and central bank accounts can be faked so openly and operate for so long, just how secure are the nation's public institutions? The answer to that question is really going to determine the future integrity of the very systems designed to govern us. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep asking the tough questions.